I've made $10 million over the last 9 years, and 90% of that income has been from making cold calls. I'm gonna be sharing with you my best 7 tips for selling over the phone. Tip number 1 is know your script. Now, there's a level of knowing your script, which is like, I still need it in front of you. And then there's a level of knowing your script to the point where if I had a gun to your head right now and I said, read me your script line for line, you would know it without a fault. That's the level you need to know your script. Because when you're on the phones dialing to make millions of dollars, and that's the reality, because when you're on the phone with somebody and you're trying to sell a $2 million property or $20 million property, the amount of money you can earn is hundreds of thousands of dollars per deal. It's not time to be possibly practicing on a client. It's the freaking Super Bowl every single time you pick up the phone. So you better know your scripts, which by the way, if you have yet to download my free commercial real estate script book, which is far and on one of the best script books out there, period, end of story. And these are the exact scripts and the exact questions that I ask. Make sure you go in the description down below. It's absolutely free. It's yours, my treat. I'm gonna give you 3 quick tips to knowing your script better. Number 1, role play. Role play by yourself. Role play with a partner. Role play, I don't care if it's with your colleague or your friends, your family. I don't care who you role play. I don't care if you're doing it to your dog. The point is role play. The more repetition you can give yourself, while that's not on the phone with a client, so you're not practicing with a client, you're gonna see improvement. Number 2 is record yourself. I literally just, every time I'm on the phone, I set up Zoom and I am recording myself. So that way I can watch the game tape. Because think about it, if you're a professional athlete, all you do all day long besides practice and play your game is you're watching game tape, so you can not only watch yourself and see how you can improve on your own abilities, but you can be watching other people and see where they're making mistakes, so you can learn from those mistakes, because no one said the mistakes you learned from had to be yours. And number 3, download my script book. I promise you'll thank me later. Tip number 2, the opening line is the most important, bar none, other than your close. We're talking about the legitimate first 3 to 10 seconds of you being on the phone is going to map the rest of the phone call. If you hear somebody on the other side of the phone and they sound confident, energetic, they're ready to go the second you say hello, that level of confidence is heard and felt. And you need to be so proficient. I mean, I hear some sales trainers these days that are just like, hey, John, is this John? And like acting all confused is not going to help you on a sales call. Confidence, because people buy energy. We could all say the same thing, right? If we're all reading the same script, if you and every single person, right, let's just say every person who's in commercial real estate is reading the same script, what's the difference between you and the next person? Or you and the top person if you're all saying the same things? It's the way you say it is what's gonna get you that difference in conversion. Let me give you a couple quick tips to enhance your ability in the first 3 to 10 seconds. Number 1, always assume the name is correct. If it says John Smith is the owner and a man answers, you're gonna be like, hey John, pause for a split second and let them respond. Yes, you're gonna assume it's John. And now, by the way, if a woman answers the phone, hey, Mrs. Smith, you're going to assume it's the wife. So you're just going to want to always assume that it is that person on the phone. You're going to be like, I would not ever start a call with, I'm looking for the property of 123 Main Street. There's a time to do that, okay? That's the backup, but you always want to assume it's the seller's name. Second tip is that you're going to want to say, hey, John, let them respond. And be like, hey, John, this is Henry with XYZ Real Estate. How you doing today? You're going to want to go into that. I always like saying that with enthusiasm. They're going to say, good, thank you so much. And then I'm going to say, the reason for my phone call is, you want to get right to it. People have a better response rate when they're specifically talking to the principal. So as a commercial real estate agent, and as you've probably seen in my past videos, I call as an investor. I don't just do that because it's fun. I do that because it gets results. When I call as an investor and say like, hi, my name is Henry, I'm a local investor in town and I'm looking for a property to move money for tax purposes, the reason why I say that is because people appreciate speaking with the principal rather than a realtor. Because I've had a higher rate of return instead of saying like, hey John, this is Henry with XYZ Real Estate. I'm a local commercial broker in the area. So instead of saying something like, hey John, this is Henry, I'm a local commercial broker in the area, and the reason for my phone call is I'm looking for a property for one of my clients who's going through a 1031 exchange and needs to move some money for tax purposes, and I was just curious if you'd be totally against selling the property. Instead of saying that, is saying that you are the investor. If you're an investor already, great. If you want to be an investor, just start saying the script. I promise you're going to get great results. And the last part to understand when it comes to the opening lines of your script is you must have the right mentality. You must know exactly what the purpose of the phone call is. This is no matter what's going on. I don't care if this is the first initial cold call or it's the second follow-up, the fourth, the 50th follow-up. I don't care what it is. You want to make sure that you have the right intention in your head and in your heart. Because if you don't know exactly what the mission is on today's phone call, you're going to have a very tough time converting. I don't care if it's getting an exclusive, to be submitting an offer, getting more information, whatever it is, make sure you have the right mission known in your head and in your heart. Tip number 3, it's all about the closing lines, baby. When it comes to your close, I am a huge fan of using the choice close. So just about every single sales script I use a choice close. Does A work or would B be better for you? That's it. It's really, really simple. You can add that for literally anything in life. I don't care if you're asking your wife to go out to dinner, hey, would you like to go to X restaurant, or would B be better for you? Right? It doesn't really matter. It works for everything in life. So when you're talking to a client, remember back to what we just said, you need to know the mission here. So if the mission is to get an appointment, you're going to say, so John, would Tuesday afternoon work or would Wednesday afternoon be better for you? Very simple choice close when it comes to getting an appointment. When it comes to submitting an offer, you want to say something along the lines of, so you had mentioned that you were looking for X price. If we can get you an offer all cash with a quick closing, would that be ideal, or would you prefer a higher price with more contingencies? What would be better for you? Decent choice close here, right? Would they prefer a fast, quick closing as is, where is, or would they prefer a higher price with more contingencies? Ask the choice close. You're going to see a crazy cool result, I promise. And then the last one, which is around exclusives. The only other close that I like to use is the totally against close. So John, would you be totally against having me market your property for you? So it's like a double negative, and it gives people some food for thought, and most of the time you're going to see a pretty good result. And now what's interesting is that if you've done a very good job asking all the right questions beforehand, you're typically going to get a great answer when you ask that question the right way. However, if they go, well, I'm not totally against it, but again, I don't want to sign anything, they start giving you objections, you're just going to have to go through the objections and then just go right back to it. So, okay, just to clarify, other than you don't want to sign because you possibly were looking to list with another broker you might know, is there any other reason why you wouldn't sign with me today? No, that's really it. Okay, would you be totally against getting a second opinion? No, I'm actually open to getting a second opinion. Well, so you go right into the meeting point. Great, so would Tuesday or Thursday afternoon be better for you? This is what I'm saying. Know your script at heart, because if you're on the go and you know these things, you're going to be able to close with ease, and it's really going to feel easy in your body and on the phones. Point number 4, the list you are prospecting. Do you want to have a higher conversion ratio? Then you need to learn to pull a better list, because the better the list you have, the higher the conversion ratio will be. If you want to start selling commercial real estate, let's say you're a residential realtor and you want to start selling commercial real estate, well, clearly you need to be calling a different list than you're calling right now. If you're prospecting for single family homes, you're like, I want to sell commercial real estate, probably going to be really hard selling commercial real estate if you're not prospecting commercial properties. However, let's take a little bit higher level of approach here. Let's just say that you want to start increasing your sales price, which we've talked in other videos, which is obviously going to increase the amount of money you're making. What we can talk about here specifically in regards to just selling more expensive properties is the list you're pulling is crucial. If you're calling a bunch of 5, 10, 20,000 square foot properties versus calling a list of properties that are over 50,000 square feet, you're probably going to have not just necessarily a higher conversion ratio, but the leads that you get are going to pay you a lot more money. What I want to find are people who have not sold their property within the last 10 years minimum. Maybe you can do 5, but I would recommend at least 10. You could even do 20. So this is just one layer of motivation. Then you can start going into things like maybe they have debt that is coming due. They own the property free and clear. You can start layering different motivations into the list that you're pulling from the softwares like Reonomy or CoStar. That is going to allow you to have a higher conversion ratio. It's going to be amazing. Tip number 5, ask just one more time. The amount of times that I've been on a phone call and I say, hey, would you be totally against selling your property? And they say like, no, I'm not really interested. I'll be like, listen, I have a client, super motivated, looking to pay, all cash probably, has the means to do so. If I got you an offer, that would be unbelievable, knock your socks off. Would you be totally against selling the property? And they'll be like, well, listen, I mean, like, give me an offer. What do you think we can do? And that's a door that has been opened, which was closed previous. Just by asking one more time, being consistent, not just taking no for an answer where they say, would you be totally against having me market your property? And they go, no, I'm not really interested. Just out of curiosity, you did say that you were open to selling your property, and you did say that if I got you an offer of $5 million, you'd be open to selling your property, correct? Yeah, no, I'd be open to doing that. Okay, just curious, why are you against having me market your property? What has you against me marketing your property? Well, I just don't want to scare my tenants off. I was like, okay, well, if I had an opportunity where we can market your property, where it's not everywhere where your tenants are going to see all this information all over the place. This is all, by the way, in the script book down below if you want to know exactly what to say. The point is, if you can go through all these things and handle that objection, right, and not just take the first no and you ask again and learn to overcome these objections, you are going to see a massive increase in your conversion. Tip number 6 is your environment will give you the results you're looking for. If your environment is not cold call friendly, which means you're in an office that does not support cold calling, you're probably going to have a very, very tough time being consistent on the phones, because you're going to have all these people going, why are you making cold calls? Why don't you just work by referral? You work 10 hours a week and you make $300,000 a year and you think you're rich, John. That's not the life I want to have. You need to be in an environment that allows you to thrive, who supports what you're doing. If you're making cold calls at home and your spouse is not supportive of you making cold calls, if probably going to be difficult for you to be making enough calls to see a result. Get into an environment where you are supported, where everyone around you is doing the same thing. Even if you're not great on the phones, if you're in an environment with a lot of people around you and everyone's having fun and a good time, it urges you to want to do the same thing. Positive environments will enhance your results. Negative environments are going to have a direct correlation to you having a tough time seeing results when it comes to being on the phones. Point number 7, making enough calls. It's about increasing your sample size. Agent A makes 100 calls a month. Agent B makes 10,000 calls a month. Let's just say that they have a 10% conversion rate on conversations for the amount of calls that they've made. That means the person who's made 100 calls that month has spoken to 10 people that month. And then the person who's made 10,000 calls has spoken to 1,000 people that month. Now let's just say they also have a 10% conversion on leads generated, which means that the person who's had 10 conversations now has 1 lead for that month, and the person who's had 1,000 conversations has 100 leads that month. And it's showing you that anything is possible when you enhance the sample size, commit to the long game, and I can guarantee you the success you're looking for. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and by the way, if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, please make sure you do so. Ask any question that you'd like down in the comment section down below. We answer every single comment. I appreciate you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, everyone.